Hello, Druids, friends, and family. I am Dennis Franklin, coach of the Under 5 Druids, and I just want to say that rugby is back. Been out coaching some of the Under 5s for a little bit, and it's been awesome to see a lot of the minis and young ones and a lot of our junior players out on Friday nights and out at the club getting back into the sport. Also, at the same time, we've had our senior players back as well too, and they've been taking part in their practices and training. So really excited for that. Quick heads up, if there's anyone that's looking to register, whether you're junior, senior, please go to the Druids website, www.druidsrfc.com, as there will be a link for registration. And if you have questions, feel free to contact someone from the club. Last year, with no season, I started a bit of a pseudo podcast where I interviewed a whole bunch of different alumni, some current players, different rugby families, just to kind of keep engaged with the club a little bit at the same time with no rugby going on. So, and also with it being the 60th anniversary, because we didn't really get to celebrate that last year. But we're happy rugby's back, and so this year, with things actually going on and taking place, we'll kind of formalize the podcast a little bit more, and I'll be providing some general news and updates for things that are going on or information that's helpful to club members. I'll also be looking to have some shorter deck side chats, kind of where I am right now, almost where I'm on the deck. I've got the rugby posts in the background, so and then I'll keep up with a lot of those virtual interviews, whether it's with different alumni or people who have moved to other locations to continue their career in rugby. So looking forward to more of those conversations as this season goes on. So let's start off with some news. In Edmonton, there's some big news with rugby right now, and just announced is that September 25th and 26th, the International Sevens Rugby Circuit will be coming to Edmonton out of Commonwealth Stadium. It's the HSBC Rugby Sevens circuit, and a lot of great quality rugby will be there at that. And I've been to the one in Vancouver before, and it's a blast. And so this year they're going to have Vancouver the one weekend and then Edmonton shortly after. So for people who are looking for information on that, there will be more to come. Obviously, that will help kind of funnel out through the club, but also at the same time, there is a post on Facebook right now just with some general information. So if you do want to have a look at it, it's there for you on the Druids Facebook page. In addition to that, there's also a 50-50 raffle that's come out for the Druids. These 50-50s help support the club through different equipment needs, just anything that kind of helps go to support the club. And you can go to druidsrfc.com for more information on that, for your chance to win at a 50-50 and simultaneously help the club out. So once again, druidsrfc.com. Get your 50-50s. For anyone who's looking at Druids kit or gear, the kit shop is open until Sunday, July 11th at 11:59 p.m. So there's a link to the online kit shop that's available at the Druids Facebook page right now. You just go online, you click the link, and it'll show you the different kind of material that we have for different clothing. There's some good hoodies, there's some good shorts. But feel free to go have a look and see what suits you and get some gear. Also at the same time, we want everyone to mark their calendars. Saturday, August 21st, the Lynn Davies Rugby Park Golf Tournament will be taking place at the Fortin View Golf Course. So keep an eye out on social media for more information with that. If you have any questions or you're looking to sponsor the event or you're already looking to register, send an email to facilities@druidsrfc.com. That's facilities, FACILITIES, @druidsrfc.com. And they'll be able to give you some more information just with respect to the golf tournament, but there will be more information posted and shared over social media and at the club. So without further ado, we'll get into some of our conversations. Thanks. I'm pretty excited about this one today for at least one of our guests. So we have got Trevor Wall and Robbie Franklin. You might recognize the last name on the second one. He is my older brother. We'll get right into it. Why don't we just introduce Trevor? He played junior rugby, men's rugby, and as a long-standing Druid, but now lives in Calgary. So Trevor, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So technically actually played for the Outlaws Outlaws 3rd Division, I think, back in 1990. Oh, it must have been even the late 80s. No, early 90s. So under 13s, when we had under 13s, that was the youngest we could play. Robbie, you were on that team too, weren't you? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's the black shirt with the teal writing.
Yeah, that's right. And Mr. John Franklin and Coach Larry Wall, I think, were our coaches there. And I remember the very first time we went out to the clubhouse there, and we were picking rocks off the field to get all the clay shots and rocks before we planted the first seeds out there. So I don't even know how long ago that was. But, long time. So
yeah, so it's been a while, and for those of you who don't know Trevor, he's a stickler for details, so he's already on my case about that. But so now you get to know Trevor, but I'll quickly introduce Robbie. So yeah, obviously my oldest brother, for those who don't know. Robbie and Trevor both played together from when they were younger kids, and they went up into men's rugby together and played some pretty high levels, which we'll get into a little bit at the same time too here. So Robbie, thanks for joining us as well.
You bet. Good seeing that pretty little mug of yours.
Yeah, it runs in the family, I hear. So anyways, we're going to start off with probably, the most intriguing question that everyone's just waiting to hear. So Robbie, between the Franklin boys and the Franklin dad, like, what does it feel like to be the 4th best rugby player in the Franklin family?
I'm pretty sure I had the shortest career, but I wasn't the shortest. So that's all that really matters.
It's not. What was that quote on those T-shirts back in the day? It's not how big you are; it's how big you play. So anyways, so yeah, at least you're accepting that you were the 4th best. So Trevor, for yourself, you come from a family background too. Again, Trevor Wall. A lot of people know Larry Wall around the rugby club, and many know Jarrett Wall too. At the same time, as a longtime Druid. And Trevor, why don't you just talk about your family a little bit, your history, and how you got started with rugby, because it kind of kicked things off for the Outlaws back in the day. You were part of that original crew, right?
Yeah, and I would self-admittedly say Larry Wall is the most legendary rugby player of our family. There is people that I remember playing 3rd div and even into 1st div when I was playing, and they wouldn't touch me because they're like, I'm kind of a little bit scared of Larry Wall, because he kind of plays real tough. So there's more to that for sure. But Dad played U of A way back in the day when he started. Jim Hiltzentager actually dragged him into the clan way back in the day. And then when we moved out to Sherwood Park, he was saying there's no club in Sherwood Park. And Lynn Davies was saying the same thing. And a few other guys, Ron Horton, I think, was out there too, said there's no rugby club in Sherwood Park. And so they started the Outlaws. And I don't know the exact year that was, but that was a long time ago. And part of that was a lot of them were having kids that were growing up, and there wasn't a lot of junior rugby around Edmonton at that point. I mean, that was a long time ago now. But so the Outlaws formed, and a few years later then got together with the Druids and built a great club and a great junior program. I remember, I don't know where exactly the junior program is now, but then we were probably twice the size of any other club. We had 2 under 17s, 2 under 19s teams, under 13s, under 15s, men or boys, girls, all the sorts. It was pretty exciting to be there at that point. And it was big enough that your peer group evolved to be that. I mean, Dennis, you and Danny and Robbie, the Thompson brothers, my younger brother, Jarrett, we all were buddies. It's like a big extended family. So, that was a great journey through junior rugby, and then getting into men's league. Robbie and I both played a bit of thirds. I remember doing the good old Grand Prairie and Edson trips when you were back in the day. When you were the younger guy, you got thrown onto the 3rd div games that none of the older guys wanted to go to, which were overnight games. You go to Edson and then stay overnight, or you go to Grand Prairie or Fort McMurray and stay overnight. And I remember, I went to Fort McMurray before it was cool because I was going there for rugby. But But yeah, that was great. And I remember there's a lot of the older guys really welcomed us. So Gerald Teleditsky was a classic there. He would always take the young guys under his wing and you know, protect them during the game, because obviously thirds can get a little rough sometimes. But it was a lot of fun. And yeah, played a lot. Played all the way to men's. Played gold with Robbie. Played junior gold with Robbie. I think we win the championship for the Prairies at least that one year in junior gold, Robbie?
Yeah, yeah. There's I have two jackets, so we won it twice. I can't remember what years they were, but we won them.
Right.
We won
Yeah.
them twice. Yeah.
That was pretty fun. And then played senior gold. And our first div team in those years evolved really quickly from being a group of guys in their, you know, 30s to a group of, you know, kids wasn't the right word, but guys in, you know, mid 20s with a couple polished, you know, mid 30s guys. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, we had interchangeable. We probably had a first and second div team that were interchangeable. I mean, we had a really strong group of guys there, and a lot of them had come up through the junior program or helped coach a junior program, so it was really fun to be. But Robbie's hips and knees went pretty fast there, so his career got short. And yeah, and then 2000. I remember probably the most fun year I had, and I remember still till today, was the first div provincial championship we had in 2005. And that was a boomer. We went the final game, and I think it was against the Canucks or the Saints. Anyways, I can't remember, but we won probably by 35 points in the final. It was just a clean sweep. They got one try, I think, in the end of the game when we started to get tired. But that was probably my most proud day as a Druid. Both the year before that and that year and the year after that, we had, you know, a bunch of junior guys and a few guys scattered from Leduc and a few guys that came in from overseas, and we had a super fun group of guys there, and we did some really great rugby. So, but yeah, that was kind of the mountain we climbed, and then after that, moved to Calgary, and then moved to Australia. I tried playing country outback Australia. I tried joining a team, and I played third div, and it was all league players playing union, and my God, they play hard. I tried playing centers, and I just got steamrolled in like third div. So I'd go out there to work for a couple weeks at a time, and I'd practice with them, and then I played one game, and like little guys that weren't, you know, were about the same size as me, maybe a bit smaller, just like smashed me. So that's real rugby out there. You know, that's like going to country Alberta and playing men's league hockey. Yeah. So
is that when you would say maybe the rugby career was on the downslope?
Well, exactly. So yeah, lots of fun. I think probably some of the other best parts were the tours. Like we went on some great junior tours. We went to Wales and England. We went to Scotland. We went to the Caribbean or to Cayman Islands. That was a men's tour. Or young. A lot of our junior guys came up and did a men's tour for a week, and saw a lot of the places in the world. And then Robbie, you and I played under 19 Canada. We got to go to Wales again. We got to go to France again. There's a whole another set of experiences there. But rugby's a great one. I mean, any other sport, you wouldn't get a chance to travel that far unless you were, you look at hockey. There's probably a million kids that play hockey in Canada at any one time. To do that, it'd be like 1 in a million. To be in rugby, there's tours on every level at every club all the time, and you get to travel all the time. So I think rugby, rugby is with my family. Rugby is, my wife I met through rugby. Well, actually through you, Dennis. So thank you for that. But I wouldn't have been hanging out with you so much if it wasn't for rugby. So it's all good. Same with Jarrett. Jarrett, my wife, or my brother and his wife, Jarrett and Jesse, met through rugby at the U of A and through club, and it's our family. It's our blood. So, yeah.
So I don't even know if I really need to interview here. I'll just open up that it's Trevor Wall, and then the interview's gone.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, thanks. That's good background and history, Trev. Robbie, we'll get into you a little bit. So, I mean, for me, when I started playing rugby, it was like grade 9, and it was actually Jarrett that convinced me after kind of declining dad telling me I should play rugby for a few years. But I ran into Jared, and he convinced me to come out and play. And so that's sort of where that started for me. But for you, like, what was it actually that got you out for rugby? Was it dad? Was it friendships through other family friends like the Walls, or how did you actually get started?
Uh, so played the Rangers soccer. So going up through that little bit, we just met some different people that were involved in sport in general. But there, Kyle McKinney played on that younger team, and he was playing Ranger soccer with me. I knew Trevor through hockey at the time, and then the Thompsons I knew through hockey as well. So Shane Exton played on that team, who was a close family friend of ours growing up, and his dad and our dad obviously played together. And probably got into more shenanigans than played together, to be honest. But um, yeah, so it was just kind of a group of people that I was familiar with, and Dad said there's this. It was called Walla Touch Rugby, and we went out, and I remember running around and playing, and it was girls and guys, and yeah, I just had a blast. And um, I don't know how much rugby it was because you could kick the ball, and that's what I did. I just kicked the ball, and I was a little bit faster than people at the time, so I thought I was good. I didn't really play rugby though. I just kicked, ran, and beat people to the ball and scored a bit. So it was yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that's kind of what got into it. And Dad was a big precursor to that. He just said like, I know he played. We kind of grew up within the Druids world. I remember the family Christmas parties underneath Old Clark Stadium there and whatnot. But yeah, when it came up to Sherwood Park, that was kind of the first one, and I don't remember the year either. But we would have been maybe grade 7 or grade 8, maybe even younger. But it was yeah, it was a good group. So that's kind of how that came to be. And then the juniors kicked off after that, and I played out of Bev Facey. Trevor played out of Sal. When we got through Bev Facey, the Forsyths were really good as well. So they were a good rugby family and brought us up through that as well, and established a team. Our my years at Facey, our team wasn't super strong, but they were a good group. And I think that's what always tagged me to rugby was just I enjoyed the people that I played with as much as playing the game, to be honest. So yeah.
And one of the things, Trevor kind of touched on this a little bit with the under 19 Team Canada, so I want to get on that topic a little bit. But obviously, it was an amazing experience for both of you guys. But at the same time, there's a former Druids coach who was involved with that as well too, and that was Richard Adams. So why don't you talk about what it was like getting to play for Dickie and just sort of that experience that you guys had with him, you know, coaching both within the Druids and then also with Team Canada for the juniors?
Well, for me, we did the junior stuff, and Dad coached our dad and Rico were kind of the main. Larry was always helping out, but I think he was busy still doing a fair bit of work at the time. So the ones that I remember was Dad and Rico that were kind of going in there for a bit, and we ended up playing and doing well. And then we always knew that there's this men's league that existed. Um, the first time that I actually played, they were short some wingers, and I remember going in training, and one of the wingers got into a fight at our own practice, and they got into some shenanigans, and he kind of stormed off, and Dickie looked across and said, "Well, I guess you're playing first now." So it was this like 17-year-old kid that ended up walking on to the firsts there for my first kind of initiation, and I didn't really know Dickie at the time, and he'd obviously talked to a lot of the junior coaches, and that's kind of the first time that I think the juniors and seniors began to like our age group was probably the first intermixing of that junior program in that kind of capacity. The guys that were a little bit older than us um, kind of grew up in the Druids program, not necessarily the Outlaws program, and so that kind of merger happened right kind of that late 90s, maybe 99 2000 type thing. So yeah, but then yeah, Dickie. I mean, when he coached us and learned a lot about rugby through him. He coached the under 19 squad. We we played for the provincial team. Like the Druids had a strong junior squad that we had. We won our cities and whatnot, and did well as a junior program. But when we all made Alberta, I think there were 8 of us, Trev, or something like that.
Yeah, I think there's more than that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so a good chunk of the Alberta squad in '99 that played for the under 18 Alberta team
Right.
were all Druids, and we ended up upsetting Ontario and played in Edmonton in the final against BC, which we won't talk about the score, but again had a fun time, great people, and yeah, so Dickie was out watching that obviously, and from there some pretty cool memories of heading out to the island and Shawnigan Lake, and then doing the tryout, and obviously getting the selection and whatnot. So it was yeah, it was pretty remarkable, and he was a great mentor, and I learned a lot from him, and just how to focus. I think that's kind of my biggest memory of him is he knew the game inside and out from a lot of different areas, and the technical piece was awesome, but he kind of showed me that I needed to pay more attention to the game and see the game differently. So it was cool.
It was fascinating. Watch Dickie when he would play. He sometimes I watched him play standoff, and he moved like a prop, kind of blended with the second row, but his vision for the game and his ability to just see what was going on and make some simple plays and set people off was spectacular for a guy that wasn't the fleetest of foot on the team, but knew the game so well. It was really impressive to watch him play. He was older too, so watching him just go about and just influence the game when he would sometimes he'd do player coach, and I think for the first div, he would just go in and step in, and the game would just slip over. But Dickie, I think the interesting thing, I had a bit of a different journey than Robbie. I played, and Brent Gallagher was a lot my mentor, and so he would really come and help coach me through passing and scrum half stuff. And I was a terribly defensive scrum half, to the point where I would almost pass away a try to somebody else to score, and so when I going through that, I never actually got the chance to play first div until well into the time when I was playing Alberta, and after I was 19 probably. Because Brett was such a strong scrum half, and then he would give me chances to come in and play. But it's a different type of I didn't feel necessarily like I earned that. I felt like he was gifting that to me. So I think I came into it probably with a different situation. But when I actually played Alberta, I was a scrum half all the way through my career. I actually played Alberta as an open side flanker.
Yeah, that's right.
because I was so defensive and fast around the field, and so if it wasn't for Dickie actually knowing who I was and telling people probably to look at me and say, this guy's I actually made the tryout, I believe, as an open side flanker for Canada. So I went there, and then they're kind of asking, like, what other positions do you play? And I play scrum half, and Dickie kind of kept nudging them, and I ended up making the team a scrum half. And I attribute that to a bit being ready for that tryout, but all the support I think that the club gave me and Brent gave me to work through that. Like, I slaved my ass off, man. Like, I made sure I would show up there, the fittest person there. And I was almost there. I was almost the fittest person there, but it was only because Dickie and Brent and people supported me to do that. So it wasn't, I worked hard for that. So.
And I think that's a bit of the difference. Not a knock on Robbie here, but Trevor, you were the fittest, and Robbie, you were the fastest.
Something like that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I had a quick. My time was that was clocked. It was manual, but it was a 4:45, and that was pretty good for a 40 sprint. It was.
Yeah.
I was fast at one point in my life. Yeah.
Robin, I think on the 5K race, I think you and I got first and second.
Yeah, that's right. So there was. Yeah. We were fit.
We were fit. Alberta's got to prove
I know how hard you guys were working for that at that time, and so it's great to hear you guys acknowledge, those mentors and leaders like Brent and Dickie, who helped kind of groom you along the way. I just kind of want to ask, like, for each of you, in kind of like one quick sort of sentence, or even just a single word, like, what was that feeling you got the first time you put on the Canadian jersey and you heard the anthem before a game?
Well, I can tell you where it was. It's one of those things. there's a few moments in my life where you kind of felt bigger than the moment. We were in Wales, and it was at night, so we were playing under the lights, and yeah, you put it on, and I remember feeling like you get out there and just it was a real cool moment of pride. Um, it just kind of felt bigger than rugby or bigger than anything that I'd done. It was something that was pretty cool. Can't put words to it right now, to be honest, Dennis. It was when it was under the lights, singing your anthem, there with your team. Yeah, a remarkable feeling.
Well, I think probably the interesting part of that is I remember singing the anthem and the song was going, and we were probably like 5 seconds ahead of the actual music because we were so intensely just in our own world. But I think, interestingly enough, you asked that question, and I actually think about the more market experience in my life, in my rugby career, was when we were in Wales with the club. And was it in Llandovery, or where was it that we played that selects game, Robbie, when we were under the lights? And I remember Rob Dober and Richie and a bunch of those older guys, and there's a couple of us younger guys playing on the under-19 team. And the feeling of pride was probably stronger then, actually, with that group of guys. In that moment, that was under the lights too, so it's spectacular. Like, you go under there, we don't get to play that in Alberta because it's sunny till midnight, right? So you don't get that same feeling, but that was almost the same. In fact, that was, to me, that was more of a family. That felt like a better spot to be. The Canada stuff, there was a lot of people from across the country coming together, and we did our darndest to feel like a team and play like a team. But it's just not the same as being there with your club. So,
all right. We're going to get into some sort of quick questions here. Rapid fire, one might say. And so basically just going to ask, and I'll direct them to each of you, and then just answer as quickly, and you just have to do it honestly. So Trevor, I'm going to start with you. What is it about you and your younger brother, Jarrett, that you always needed a blood sub every game?
The hair slowed us down.
The hair slowed you down? Okay.
Just too much hair.
I remember the one game, it was like bleach blonde for Jared in Scotland or whatever. And it was just like red, like just bashed heads accidentally. And
we're not scared to tackle. And so we kind of throw our heads in front of the tackle sometimes because we both played football for a little bit. Maybe that's our hiccup.
Yeah. And Robbie, what everyone wants to know was, did you put Vaseline on your jersey all over it so that people couldn't tackle you, or was that natural sweat?
Well, it wasn't Vaseline, and I don't know if I ever sweat, so I don't know if it was either. But we played back in the day when the jerseys were a bit bulkier still. So there was stuff that you could grab, and
the old barbarian jerseys.
Yeah. So I was kind of greasy. I wasn't really a good sidestepper. I could kind of do a little bit, but it was more of a swerve. I don't know. I was just able to. I had over about 40, 50 meters. I could take most people in that. So I don't know. I just was a little bit quicker. That's all.
All right, Trevor, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but your favorite, place you ever played as a Druid?
Yeah, I'd say that game in Wales was probably my favorite place for sure, and probably seconded by a couple of the games we had in the Scotland tour, and then a couple of the men's league games that I played as an adult. With that, and Robbie, you hit on the head. It was that blend of people who had grown up in the Druids program and people who had grown up in the Outlaws program, and the men's team. Those were some good memories for sure.
Robbie, same question.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Favorite place you played as a Druid? Thanks for paying attention.
Yeah, no. As a Druid, I think the Scotland tour stands out for a lot of reasons. We had just got back from the Canada stuff, and so the quality of rugby, just the fitness and all of that. That's probably when I was probably my top level of rugby, and so all the games it was just a lot of fun. and I was older at that point. The Wales trip, I was 16, and there was the older guys, but the other one, I was one of the older guys, and so it was just a kind of a slowly different mentorship role. And yeah, I don't know. Scotland was good. Probably want to know honestly, Dennis, one of the most proud moments was when the three of us. It was the year that we didn't win provincials,
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
and so that would have been '04, I guess. And we played against the Saints in the provincial final, but we were very young. It was a junior squad that had moved up with some of the old guys, a couple of them from that last '90s championship, but it was a lot of young guys, and it was pretty cool
Yeah.
playing with Danny and yourself in a provincial final. That was something. And then Jared, I think played too. Hey, Trev.
I think he was there. I don't know if he played, but I remember Liam was there. I was there. I think Dennis, you were at scrum half. Who Brownie is playing 10. I don't know who's playing 10, and Hugh and like a lot of it was a good squad. It was actually a very talented squad. If we had kept that group of people together for another couple of years, we would have been as good as any team there.
Yeah. Well, the next year was the year I was off in New Zealand. You guys ended up winning provincial, so it was kind of bittersweet, but at the same time, like super happy for the club. And I think a lot of that built from the fact that we actually had that success in 2004 and got over that hump of finally beating the Clan, right? Like that was always a barrier. And like when I remember seeing Conrad and just like the joy that he had and like finally getting that game and like winning it, and then just to see the club go on the next year win the provincials was awesome. But yeah, that was an all Druid like junior kind of historical backline between. There was Millsy, there was you. Brownie started off the year, and then I think he had a surgery on his wrist or something. Yeah. And Richie Beijing, Richie was playing a bit. Hugh, Danny, me, you, Robbie,
Nigel.
Everyone was kind of all over, and we had some guys in and out that year too, between like Stu and we had Ricky and from England.
Ricky Cross, Rick Cross.
So obviously it was a good group of guys, but yeah, that for sure, Robbie, that was a fun one. And it kind of gets into my next question for you guys is there's two women in our lives that have obviously meant a lot and have always kind of been there to help support the Walls and Franklin. So Trevor, talk a little bit about Donna Wall, and Robbie, talk a little bit about Jeannie Franklin.
Yeah, well, Donna is a legend for sure. I mean, I think I've had a few rugby parties there after we celebrated, when we were younger, and she was there helping clean up the next day. But we would always, all my friends became rugby players, and so it just became one big extended family. And so, I mean, you guys been to our house, stayed overnight at our house, all sorts of stuff, and it felt like it was just one big family, and that was because of her that the door was open. Not everyone would say just, let everybody in. You guys you probably even knew our passcode and our back door, I think.
Yeah, I do.
Right? So it may not have changed yet. So, anyways, it was that level of family, extended family. And that was all because of the boss of the house, and that was Mom. So for sure.
I will say that Donna does have, in my mind, the best nonstop cookies that ever existed.
They are.
Yeah. Mom. Well, Dennis, I mean, she had a camera everywhere she went, and she would document our lives, and it's pretty special now to kind of look back at some of those things. And she was always our biggest cheerleader. She would support us and everything, and both by being there all the time, but also supporting us by helping pay for all those tours and stuff, right? And Dad as well, right? So I mean, they were great. They got us a chance to travel and see the world, and they liked the people that we hung out with. And I just the only time that I ever think I got frustrated with her was that provincial final, and she was taking some pictures, and I was on the wing on the sideline. She's like, "Robbie, look this way," and then some of the fans of whoever we were playing were like, "Yeah, Robbie, look this way, look this way." Mom, leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm in the game. All right, Trevor, what's it like getting to play with your younger brother, and what was the most awkward moment on the pitch?
I actually got to play with my dad and my younger brother. So we actually all got in the field at the same time. I think it was an old boys game, but it might have been a third div game, and we're all in the field at the same time. I got a picture somewhere rocking around the house of us all playing at the same time. I think Dad played in the centers, Jared played scrum or 10, and I played 9, and that was pretty cool. And yeah, that was great. I mean, that's a picture. Like, I have that picture inked into my memory forever. But that meant a lot. I was just joking with Dad the other day. I think he's getting onto the gold shorts there in old boys. But, my kids now are playing under 5 and under 7 rugby. And, like, wouldn't it be amazing to go out to one old boys game and have a few generations playing there? That'd be awesome. So that's my goal.
I think Larry could outplay all of us right now, to be honest.
Well, you're probably right. I think he'd make a couple sprints and then he'd probably be sitting on the sideline with a beer. But yeah.
That's all right. I'd be the one pulling my hamstring playing walking touch. So
yeah, there we go. Yeah.
And then Robbie, for you, what's it like? I mean, you had 2 younger brothers, obviously. So minus the Franklins yelling at each other on the field, what was that kind of like?
Danny never did much. Danny was in regards to like confrontation, he was just stalwart. He was because when Danny was playing, he often went to the wing, and that's when I went to fullback. And so Mills must have been in the centers or something at that point. But Danny never missed a tackle. He was like this awesome guy that could do his job, and he did it well, and he was quick as well. And I'd always trust him on the wing type thing when I was playing fullback. And he was also the first one that because Dennis, you ran your mouth off a bit, and Danny would be the first one in there.
I didn't pick up everything from Brent Gallagher, so I had to pick up a few things myself.
Danny would be the first one in there supporting you, and I didn't. Well, I remember that. I remember thinking, oh, he's got it coming. So that was Danny. The biggest memory that stands out in my mind for you, Dennis, was you as a scrum half, you communicated, and you had a great pass, and you were always feisty. And over like 10 meters, you could make people look really silly, and then just people could catch you just because those little legs kind of could.
The best
two steps to everyone else's 6. So
yeah, the best though was a loose ball coming out of the scrum and the flanker thinking they're going to tackle me, and you're already short enough, and then you just duck under their tackle. Keep going. So, it worked out well, but yeah.
But Dennis, the big memory I have, Dennis, honestly, was that 04 game when we finished the game, and
you ran out of bounds.
so that story is kind of one of my favorite rugby moments, to be honest, because we're all playing. It's the end of the game. We're about to beat the Clan. There's a line out, and they ended up kicking it to the middle of the field. I was playing fullback, and all I heard was, like, out of all the screaming and yelling and everything else was going on, I heard you yell, "Kick it out of bounds," which means we're going to win the game. And I didn't want to screw up and miss my kick because I'm in the middle of the field. So I went back to a moment when I played video game against Tom Castle and to win the game against Tom, I ran out of bounds in the video game, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I just bolted for the sidelines with my fist in the air going, we win. Ran out of bounds. Sure enough.
Which I think strictly is a penalty, but anyways, nobody called you on it, so yeah.
I think it was at that time, so
I think
while I wasn't loud, I was right.
I think I confused everybody. Like, what is he doing? But yeah, we won. That was the cool moment, and I could hear you.
Yeah. One of the best things was watching Luis and Dennis and you link up, Rob, on the short side scrums. That was pretty fun because Luis would, basically handball 2 or 3 people and kind of push their heads down, and then kind of pop it to Dennis, and Dennis would basically be gone. The winger would not know what to do, and then you'd just kind of walk in the end zone. That was pretty fun to watch for sure. From the I didn't have to work as the inside center. I just watched you guys go and do the work. So
we had the play where we missed the standoff.
Yes, that's right.
Off of a line out actually, and I would just throw it directly to you, and it would be a miss pass straight from there. And then no one was expecting it because we had a few extra people with the 10 to draw more in, and then you had an open lane to score a try. It was one of those set plays that kind of just happened to work, and like it was good. But with Luis, as you know, it's funny talking about him as an 8-man. I've never had so much freedom and time to be able to kind of move a ball up from. And then if you needed a pick and go, like he said, he would fend off 2 or 3 people and give you a clear lane just to do whatever. And so, yeah, it's, you know, part of our success in those years was definitely that pack, because they were good, they were strong, they were tough, and like, you know, they didn't lose scrums. They were very consistent. They were at every breakdown, so it made the job easier for everyone.
Well, that's what we did have. You're right. There was like Gazza. I'll never forget that guy. He'd mentor as a front row. He'd be mentoring me as a winger. Like you're just a good group of people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So a few other, I guess, quick things before we go. You know, Trevor just talked a little bit about what you're up to right now for those who, you know, maybe haven't heard from you for a while. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
living in Calgary here. We just joined on the Saints club this year. Got the little guys going on their juniors program. It's in South Calgary. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, you know, self promo. Buy some Rocky View Brew. They're the company I work for, part owner of Integrated Sustainability, just partnered with Rocky View. So we're going to get some kegs out to the Druids real soon, as soon as we do the next batch. So super excited about that. But yeah, I've been in Calgary for, 9 years now, 8 years, and was in Australia for 4 years before that, trying to live the dream that Dennis didn't get a chance to live in Aussie. So it's been a good journey, but all the time still have the Druids jerseys hanging in my closet, and the Druids golf shirts from like 2002 through 5. That's my go-to golf shirt for going golfing on the course, is to grab the good old Druids golf shirts. So still rocking them true.
Yeah, it probably has like blood stains on it or something.
Well, yeah, still cotton. Like before we had these fancy materials, like still those cotton golf shirts.
Right on. And Robbie, just yourself, a lot of people probably, you know, if they haven't seen you in a while, let them know why.
You know what's interesting? So I heard this quote the other day. So kids today talk about the 90s when we grew up the way that us as 90s kids talked about the 60s. So that made me feel a little old. So a lot of these youngsters are going to have no idea who I am, which is okay. You know, my career in rugby was cut pretty quick there with my hips gave out, right? And so I've now had 2 hip replacements, so that's been fun. But we moved out to Kelowna. I got 4 daughters. We did some rugby. Rugby was canceled out here this year, so we didn't have anything going this year. But yeah, they all played the little minis and running around, and it's kind of cool watching them now grow up with it as well. So other than that, yeah, living the Kelowna life. Get to snowboard in the winter and get to wake surf in the summer. It's a pretty cool little place.
Right on. And just on that topic about like, you know, 90s kids and 60s kids and all that, I mean, I think you see different patterns that evolve throughout the club, and parents who now have kids and are getting them involved in rugby. While a lot of the younger people may not necessarily relate to some of these stories, like this is great for alumni, but at the same time, as the coach of the under 5 Druids, I can flat out say that seeing, you know, Johnny and Flaff's like little girl out at under 5 and Reese's kids out at rugby and all that, like it really is a family, and it continues on. And those kids are forming their own friendships and relationships now. And just to see that moving forward, it's kind of an extension of what we grew up with. And we're now the Larrys and Johns and John Evans and Jack Thompsons, even though Jack and Larry are still doing so much at the club, but like just in terms of coaching and trying to help get them out there, teaching kids sort of the path, whether it be through rugby or other sports forward. So yeah, it's not, the conversation's not lost on different demographics. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who played with you guys back in the day that really excited to kind of see and hear from you.
Well, one of the things, Dennis, I think that I got to shout out here is like the sport of rugby helped create the path that I live now, to be honest. So everything I did, rugby opened another door to a new opportunity. So my friends that I have today are through rugby. My job, I can trace back to moments where I was teaching phys ed classes rugby through the Druids program growing up. My summer jobs were working for Lynn, riding one of his homemade tractors that helped pay for whatever university I was doing. Like, so everything I did, I really do owe a lot to the Druids and to the rugby scene itself. And so, I just want to say it's very close to my heart, and I'm very appreciative of everything that has happened through rugby and through the Druids itself. So.
For sure. And Trevor started a beer company because of rugby, obviously.
Well, yeah, you don't drink beer unless you play rugby.
So,
yeah, echo that, Robbie. I think we had lots of stories, not just about the team and the club and rugby itself, but about the facility and about building that facility. I mean, I remember planting the trees that are probably 50 feet tall there now. They're fast-growing trees. I'm not actually that old. But yeah, and that fence, I don't know if the fence is still there, but in that old garage, and I lived in that trailer for 18 months, almost 2 years, and lots of good memories there. I think I'll take that with me for a long time, and family's still involved with the Druids, and I hope I can bring that same feel to the club in Calgary I'm a part of. If you see that guy who you don't recognize, might be from Calgary, moved to Edmonton, and has some young kids, say hi to him. He's still part of the family too. So
yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things with rugby is you can pick up and go anywhere across the world and find a club to be involved with or meet new friends through that environment. So, if there's players coming from Calgary, obviously we'll welcome them with open arms. So yeah, I wouldn't sweat that, Trev. but in saying that, you can tell all your Saints friends that you beat them in 2005.
Well, they do have red jerseys, so I'm not, I'm at least finding the one that's closest aligned.
Yeah, right on. All right, well, thanks a lot, you guys. Really appreciate you both coming on for this and just taking the time out of your day, and also we look forward to having more conversations with other alumni, and then also at the same time with seasons starting up on some level and in some fashion, we'll be talking more to some of the players that'll be out there this year. So thanks a lot for joining us, you guys.
Yeah, good luck, Druids.
Thanks, Dennis. Good luck, Druids.